Okay, so first of all, let me take up a brief introduction, brief history of Selenium with you before I start jumping over to the topics and all of the course, right? So, look, if you talk about Selenium as a tool, how it evolved over a period of time and what all is required to learn this tool, or should you learn this tool or not? Okay, there are lots of questions people have before learning this tool, that is it tough, is it easy, what will I do, I don't know programming, should I learn this tool, is it better for my career or not? Look, certainly, first of all, it's a very good tool. Okay, the complete industry is using it and the demand is growing day by day. Alright, if you learn this tool, if you learn Selenium, then you have to learn, like if you learn it with Java, most of the industry uses Java. You end up learning Java language, and if you end up learning Java with Selenium, then learning other tools like Appium, which is for mobile automation, or a tool like, even if you want to learn UFT, or even if you want to learn say JMeter or a load runner, which are load testing tools, or if you want to learn SOAP UI tomorrow, which is for web services. Learning other tools, it really becomes easy because you get a knack of programming. Okay, so you have to start somewhere. If you are a manual tester, then obviously you will hit the roof in your career somewhere, because you cannot just be manual tester throughout your career. So you have to learn some tool. And right now the best thing in the market is Selenium to learn. It's got the most of the demand in the market. It's capturing the, the greatest of the market share is with Selenium, right? But learning this tool, and after learning this tool, learning other tools, it becomes really easy. You have to learn core Java. You cannot just run away from programming. We'll be learning core Java. Okay, nothing can be done if you're scared of Java. Okay, if you're scared, you have to just remove that scare. Okay, it's just about practice. All right, now about what Selenium is, how it evolved over a period of time, and what all we will be learning in Selenium. Let me talk about that. Okay, when I worked for this on this tool for the first time somewhere in 2007, or right, so it had a few components, like it had Selenium RC. Okay, and then we used to have Selenium IDE. Okay, and we used to have GRID. Okay, these were the components. RC, if you talk about, suppose if you talk about IDE is a tool which is primarily record and run tool, and nobody uses recording and running these days. Okay, suppose I hope you know what recording running is. It is there in almost all the automation tools, right? All the websites these days are very dynamic websites. Suppose a website like CNN.com, it's a news website. That website will change every day. You cannot just record the script and expect that the script will run fine the next day as well. Okay, the complete website is changing every day. Okay, so this is one of the disadvantages of IDE. Plus, IDE will generate no reports. It will work only on Mozilla, no other browser. So because of this, it is not used in industry at a larger scale. Suppose you have a project in which you have to automate 10,000 test cases. You can never use IDE in that. Okay, so people used to use Selenium RC, which was also known as Selenium 1.0, and Selenium RC was available in multiple languages. Okay, it could work on multiple browsers like Chrome, IE, Firefox, and Safari and all, right? And you could generate reports and all, everything in it, right? And Selenium GRID was something which used to help you run your test cases parallelly across multiple systems. Okay, suppose you make your test cases in Selenium RC and you want to save the amount of time which takes to execute the script. So you used to use GRID, and you used to make a central machine and connect other machines to the central machine and run the Selenium RC scripts on GRID. Okay, right. So IDE I will not be covering in this training. It is there in the videos. It's a useless tool. Nobody uses it. So even I recommend you, there is no need to learn it. You cannot work professionally with IDE. You can never work professionally. It will only work on Mozilla. It will generate no reports, nothing. Okay. So now what happened was that in somewhere in August 2011, this thing came in the market. It was known as Selenium WebDriver. Okay, sorry. It's also known as Selenium 2.0, and it had the same thing. It could work on multiple browsers, multiple languages. RC had lot of drawbacks. Okay, so those drawbacks had to be removed, and what they did was, instead of removing the drawbacks, they made altogether new version, Selenium WebDriver. There was no migration. There is no connectivity between RC and WebDriver. Okay, so these days RC is not used. WebDriver is used. Okay, IDE is still there, right? And GRID got transformed into GRID 2. Alright, now what they did was, last year in 2016, somewhere around August, September, they came up with another new version known as WebDriver 3.0, which had few of major changes. Okay, it was a migration. Selenium 2.0 was migrated to 3.0. Okay, right. IDE is again still there, and GRID got migrated to GRID 3. Alright, so in this course, what will we be learning? As a layman, if you talk to me, you will say that fine, go and teach me the latest version, which is WebDriver 3.0. I will also say that fine. But there is hardly any difference between 2.0 and 3.0 if you are a learner. Secondly, I will show you in the training. Okay, there are lot of defects in the latest version of Selenium, which is 3.0, 3.x. Right, if you go to the official website of Selenium, right, the first line over here is Selenium automates browsers. It is only for browser based testing. Okay, no other no other desktop based and all cannot be done, right? If you go to the download section, you will find this 3.0.1, right, the current version. But this version has few defects. Simple things like pop-up management and profiling of Firefox and all, they don't work in this. I will show you during the training. Okay, if you look at this link, there are 3 links in front of it. Okay, the change log link will tell you that how Selenium has changed over a period of time. This is 3.0.2. See how many fixes have been done in this. Fixed node, fixed this. Then in the last version also they had done lots of fixes. So basically what happened was, earlier we used to have this build 2.53.0. Okay, this was the stablest version of Selenium. Okay, after 2.53, what they did, they directly released 3.0, and which had lot of defects, and still they are trying to fix the defects. See, so many fixes have been done, right? Fix the bug and all that, better support, fixing this. So they are still fixing the things, and still things have not been fixed. So I would recommend you, or rather what I will be doing in the training, I'll be teaching you 3.0 and I'll show you the bugs in it, and basically we will be working with 2.53.0. Okay, we'll be working with this version when we actually write our script, so that we don't we don't get stuck on simple things. Alright, I hope you understand my point. Okay, right, fine. So this is the most stable version 2.53 which you should use. Alright, now we'll also be doing Selenium GRID, right? GRID is important. Fine. So this was about a brief history of Selenium and what is the future. Look, if you talk about future, then different tools are evolving on this tool. For example, a tool like Appium. Appium is a tool for mobile automation which is built on top of Selenium. You need to know Selenium to work with Appium. Okay, so they are going in different ways these days, and future is good. The demand will always be there for this tool. Okay, right. Now, why is Java important? Again, this is the question which people have. Look, the complete architecture of Selenium is in Java. You need to know the concepts of object-oriented programming. If you see this link, Java.doc link out here, okay, if you click on this link will give you the documentation of Selenium, and you cannot even understand a single word in this documentation if you don't know Java. Okay, if you don't know the concepts of object oriented programming, you can never understand this documentation. Alright, so you need to have this Java doc, right? Okay, you need to have the knowledge to read the Java doc. I'm sorry, right? So now let's start with Java. The first thing is that you have to install JDK, which is Java Development Kit. Just go to Google and no, I'm not saying JRE. Okay, and simply type download JDK, and you will get this first link over here. Okay, and out here you will have uh, this link download. You go over here, right? And after going over here, you can download it for your 32-bit or 64-bit machine. You can download from here, or for the Mac operating system also you can download and simply install it. Right, once you have done it, you have to download Eclipse. Most of you must be having Eclipse. Okay, just go and download Eclipse Luna, right, and just go to Google, download Eclipse Luna, and go to the first link and simply download it onto your machines. Right, this is the download link, and you can go to my computer and you can go to E drive, like over here in my PC. Out here, this is Eclipse which was configured on my PC, right? And this Eclipse, you can just start it, right? So this is Eclipse is the editor for Java language. You will write all the code inside Eclipse, right? No need to use Notepad or something. This is a very good editor. When you start it, it asks for a workspace launcher where you need to give the path where you will be storing the code. So in this training, I'll be storing the code in this folder Jan 2007 weekend, right? And let Eclipse start. Hold on. Right, so it's an editor, it's a very good thing, right? And it's full of lot of features which we'll be talking about, right? Now out here, hold on. So inside Eclipse, most of you must have used Eclipse. Alright, this is the place where we write the code, this is the project explorer, and at the bottom we get the output and all everything. Right, now you can make a new project in Eclipse. You can go to file, new, other, and under Java, right, you will get the option Java project. Okay, you click on next and name the project. I'll name it as day 1. Fine, and when you finish this, you will see that this is the day 1 project, and it will have this GRE system library, right? And out here, this GRE system library is, it is Java which was installed on your PC. Okay, right. This is the source folder. Inside the source folder, we are going to keep all the code and all everything. If you right click on this day 1 project, you will see lot of options, and we will be using these options, right? And especially the properties option, right? And in this properties option, you will have the Java build path and all where you will go. I'll tell you, right? If you right click on this day 1, you go to the properties, and under resource, the first tab over here, you'll see the project location on the hard drive. This is same as the workspace location, right? If you open this project, you can see the physical location day 1 on your hard drive, and in this you will see the source folder which is there in Eclipse as well. Rest of the things are not there in Eclipse, only the source folder is visible, right? Okay, now right click on the source folder and you can create a new class. New class means new Java file. Okay, and I'll just call it as sample.java. Right, now hold on, just a minute. I'll just increase the font and all. Just 1 minute. Right, so this is the class which is formed. Right, now many of you must be having a question, what is public, what is static, right? Look, these things we will cover when we cover object oriented programming, right? So now out here, this is the main function. The control comes to the main function, right? For the first time when you run the program, it is, this main function is there in every programming language. Okay, out here also it is there, right? So anybody with any questions till now? Anybody with any questions? Right, I think there is no question, right? So over here in the main function, you just print system.out.println, say hello Selenium. System.out.println is the command to print something in Java language. Okay, if you run this code, it will print at the bottom hello Selenium. Right, you can run it from this option on the top, run. Right, the shortcut for writing system.out.println is you type syso and hit the control spacebar of your keyboard. Okay, after typing syso, you hit the control spacebar. Now I am assuming you know basic things. You know what an integer is, like int I equals to 100. You know what a string is, right? Okay, you know what if statement is. You know what a for loop is, what a function is, right? So these static, public, all of these will come to you when we do the object oriented programming. Fine. Okay, now a few things about Eclipse. Many times people they get confused. Sometimes they close this. This is the console window in which the output comes up. Sometimes you close this console by mistake. Okay, so you can bring it back. You can simply go to window, show view, console. Okay, so I'm just telling you this because these are some showstoppers which actually drive you crazy at times, that how will I come back, right? Or at times this is the package explorer, you close it by mistake and it goes away. So if you have to bring it back, you can go to window, show view, and you can come bring back this package explorer as well. Fine. Okay, so in the window show view you can see all the types of views and all whatever you want to do. Okay, now in this in this project we have got one Java file, sample.java, and if we go to the hard drive, in the hard drive this was my day one project, right? This was the path. If I open the source folder, I'll be able to see the I'll be able to see the Java, the notepad file corresponding to sample.java. It will be out here. Okay, and you also see a bin folder. Inside the bin folder you will see a file known as sample.class. You cannot read it. You will never be able to read it even if you open it. Okay, look, every Java file is converted to a class file. Class files are stored inside the bin folder, which is not visible in Eclipse. The Java files are stored in source folder. Okay. Now what is a class file? Class file is like an executable file. You can deploy this file on any operating system. I've made this on Windows. I can make it run on Mac. I can make it run on any operating system, Linux, Unix, Solaris, anything. Okay. That Java is a platform independent language. You can make this class file run on any platform. Okay, similarly if I make another Java file over here, new class known as say sample2.java. Okay, inside it I just print learning Java, and if I run this code, it will print learning Java. And if I look at the bin folder, in the bin folder I will have sample2.class file as well, along with sample.class. So you have got various things out here. Okay, firstly, that the Java file is converted to a class file. Every Java file is converted to a class file. Right. Now out here, what you need to do is, just a minute. If you understand the concept of class file in depth, no, you cannot edit, you should not edit it, as it will be useless, right? Look, what happens is when we have to deliver the project to the client, we deliver them the class files. Okay, these are the red marks, these are the class files. If I have to give the project to the client, I'll give all the class files. And what we do is that we bundle all the class files in a single file that is known as a jar file. So when the developers say that they are deploying something on the server and all, in nutshell, these class files are getting deployed on the server. Okay, and a jar file is nothing but a collection of many class files, so that if I have to deliver it to the client, I just need to give him one file, that is the jar file. Alright, for example, if you see this GRE system library, this was Java which was installed on your PC. Okay, if you expand it, you will see it has got many jar files in it. Okay, right, and every jar file has got set of class files inside it. So these class files we can use. These class files, they have got pre-built functionalities. For example, if I write over here new date, system.out.println new date. Okay, what is new and all? Just be with me, you will come to know. Okay, I'll just import the date class. So date class is present somewhere in these jar files. Date.class file is there. It is present in one of these jar files. Okay, so I can use it. It's an inbuilt feature. When I run this code, it will print the current date, time, time zone, everything. So I never had to do the hard work to calculate and print this. I just use the internal class present in one of these jar files. And Selenium is all about the same concept. In Selenium has its own jars, and all the functionalities are inbuilt in those jars, like the date class is inbuilt in Java. So you have to just download the jars of Selenium and start using those inbuilt functionalities. It is not a rocket science. It's not something which you have to do some invention or something from your side. Okay, everything is inbuilt. When I install Java, I get the Java jar files. To get the jar files of Selenium, you can go to seleniumhq.org. You go to the download section out here. Okay, and you will see the download link over here through which you can download the jars of Selenium. There is no exe file for Selenium. It is not installed. It is configured. When you download these jar files, you will get a folder like this. Like for the current version, you will have this folder 3.0.1. Okay, inside it you will have the main jar file for Selenium, and under the lib folder you will have the other jars. But this version is unstable. I am not going to use it in the training. Okay, what I will be using is, I will be using 2.53.0. This is stabler version. After the class, I will give you the link for these jars. So this is the main jar file for this version, and the other jar files are in the libs folder. Okay, I'll give you these jar files after the class. Okay, so what you need to do is that you need to include these jars in your Eclipse. Okay, so I am using the version 2.53 of Selenium with Firefox 40. Please make sure Chrome is okay, IE is okay, but Firefox version 40 has to be there. It will not work with the latest Firefox version. Alright, for to work with latest Firefox version, you will have to use Selenium 3.0.1, but that is having issues. In next 3 to 4 months, everything will become fine. Okay, it always happens when Selenium 2 launched in the market, it came up, it had issues, they got fixed over a period of time. Selenium 3 will also get stabilized. Okay, so please install Firefox 40. If you don't know how to install Firefox 40, you can just go to Google and type Firefox older versions. Okay, and you can go to this website ftp.mozilla.org. This is having all the versions of Firefox browsers which have been released till date. Okay, right, so you can download from here and run it, right? So now let me configure the Selenium jar files in Eclipse. So what I'll do is that I'll right click on day one and go to the properties of this project, where I will see all these options on the left menu. You go to the Java build path option and there will be 4 tabs. Okay, under Java build path, go to the libraries tab and click on add external jars, this button, and add the jars for 2.53. Add this main jar file and also the jar files under the libs, all the jar files under the library folder. Okay, so in Eclipse you will see this reference library section generated out here, in which all the jars will be there. If you don't see this section, if you just see all the jars coming up like that, make sure that in Eclipse you are in Java perspective. Okay, you can switch to perspective by clicking on this icon over here, open perspective, and switch to Java perspective. You will see the reference library section with all the jars, right? Okay, so what you need to do now is that you need to start working with Selenium. You have included the jar files. These jar files, they have got inbuilt class files which you have to use. Suppose if I write over here a new Firefox driver, if I just write this command, then what will happen is that this will simply go and open a Firefox browser. You see that? It's opened the Firefox browser. Though you cannot do anything with it right now, but you see, it's not something which I wrote some explicit or exclusive code for Firefox, nothing. Okay, I just use this Firefox driver and I simply launched it. Okay, there's a question being asked that I have Eclipse Mars. Do I need to download Eclipse? Better download Eclipse Luna, because you know it's stable. Mars, sometimes I've seen it giving issues with test.ng. Okay, right. So you can download Eclipse Luna. Okay. Now, anybody else with any questions? Alright. So this is how you can simply download the jar files of Selenium, configure them on your machine and start working with Selenium. Look, I am not jumping to Java first and teaching you Java completely. I'll not do that. I'll take up the topics of Selenium and I'll take up some topics of Java, and then I'll tell you how those things are used in Selenium. Okay, rather than first teaching you Java completely and then Selenium, right? So I'll mix the things and I'll teach you how these concepts of Java are used in Selenium, right? So we saw the first programming basics and all, and download the jars, and we made the sample programs and all. Okay, now we have to learn the concepts of object-oriented programming. Without learning OOPS, you can never learn Selenium. Okay, right. So I cannot teach you the features of these jars without teaching you OOPS. So let's start with OOPS now. There's a question being asked, do we need JDK and Eclipse Luna for initial classes? It's for all the classes. We need JDK and Eclipse Luna for all the classes, not just the initial ones. Okay, right, fine. So out here, if I talk about object oriented programming now, because I cannot teach you ahead more than this without going to object oriented programming. Then what is object oriented programming? Why do we use it? Okay, so soon all these answers will be very clear to you, right? Let me make a simple class over here, right? And I will call that class as, say, pen. Okay, so this is the class pen.java. What are the features of the pen? Public void write. Okay, you can print in it pen writing. Then you can make a function public void say, hold on, let me make a variable int price. So this variable represents the price of the pen. Okay, string company, the company of the pen, right? This function write means that the pen will be writing. I am assuming you know what a function is, right? And you print the company name in this function. Okay, so these are few properties of this pen class, and this is one of the function in the pen class, right? Now I'll create a new class over here known as, say, a writer. In the writer class I have the main function. Main function was not there in the pen class because I will not be executing the pen class. The class which you want to execute, you keep the main function in that generally. Okay, the writer class is a separate class. In it, what I'll do is that I'll create the object of pen class. Now, what do you mean by creating the object of the pen class? You write it like this, new pen. This is the syntax. This is how you write it. But what do you mean by this? When you write like this, then in the memory, an object of the pen class will be formed. Inside it, the properties, price, name, and write function will be there. All the three things which were there inside the pen.java will be there in the object. I can create multiple objects of this class. Alright, so what will happen is in the memory multiple objects will be formed. Three objects I created, so three objects will be formed. Each object will have price, name, and the write function. Okay, right. Now, what is the use of creating these objects? You cannot refer these objects, you cannot access these objects. To access these objects, you need to have object references. These objects are just hanging in the memory, you cannot access them. To access them, you need to have object references, and we write like this. Pen P1 equals to new pen, pen P2 equals to new pen, pen P3 equals to new pen. So what will happen is that P1, P2 and P3 will become three object references. P1. Okay, with P1, P2, P3, you can change the state of the objects. You can access the objects. If I write over here P1 dot, you will get the properties, company, price, all these things. I can write company as A, P1 dot price as, say, 10. Right. Similarly, I can initialize the object P2 as well with the help of reference. Object and object references, they are different. Objects are in the memory and object references, they point towards the object. With P1, P2, P3 are the references. With them I can change the state of the object. Okay. So what will happen is that in the memory this will become price 10, name A, this will be B, and this will be C. Okay, and this will be 10, 20 and 30. So if you want to access these values, you can simply write say P1 dot company and P2 dot company and P3 dot company. So when you run this, it will print A, B and C. Right. Now write function is also there as a part of every object. Write function is also there. Right. So if I write over here P1 dot write and P2 dot write and P3 dot write. Pretty simple things, but people don't know about these things. So because they never tried to understand them very clearly. So if you run this code, it will simply print pen writing A, pen writing B, pen writing C. In the write function, I was writing pen writing and the name of the company of the pen. So if P1 is calling the write function, it will print the name for the company for P1 and P2 and P3 respectively. Okay, this is simple. Right. Now, what if I write this line? P1 equals to P3. What does this mean? This means that P1 will now no longer point towards this location. P1 will now point towards the location of P3. So P1 and P3 both can access the object. Okay, I'm sorry, this property should have been company, not the name. Okay, but it's okay. Right. With P1 and P3, you can access the object. Okay, and you can change the state. You can write over here, if I print the same thing now, P1 dot write, P2 dot write and P3 dot write, and if I run this, it's writing printing pen writing C for P1 as well and P3 as well, because P1 and P3 are pointing towards the same object. If I write over here say P1 dot company is Z, then in the object in the memory, okay, the company, I deleted the diagram, it's okay, the company for P1 and P3 both will become Z. If I print this again and run it, you see that both of them become Z. So anybody with any questions till now, whatever I have explained? Anybody with any questions? Right? I hope you are. If you are not able to understand, feel free to ask questions. Alright. So this was the pen class, and we had various properties and you can say variables and functions inside it. Technically, this is known as non-static global variable. This is also a non-static global variable. This is known as a non-static function. Non-static things can be accessed by creating the object of the class. If you create the object of the class, only then I can access the non-static functions, the non-static properties of the class. I cannot access them without creating object. An object is an instance of a class. This is the very famous line in Java. And it is the instance of a class. You have created 3 instances of the class over here. Every instance has a reference. Yes, Ajay. Yes. Okay. Now, suppose there is another property. Okay. For example, int int cap. Now, the number of caps which pen has, almost like I'm assuming that every pen is having one cap. So I will write over here, say p1 dot caps is equal to 1. Then I will write over here p2 dot caps equals to 1. Then I'll write p3 dot caps equals to 1. Now this is something which is little weird. We already know that the number of caps for every pen is 1. Like the number of caps will be 1. Right. We have got 3 objects over here. All 3 objects, they have the number of caps as 1. So this is something which is redundant. It should not be there. So what we do is that, to avoid this thing, because there can be properties which are common for all the objects, we make this static. Okay. When you make this static, what happens is that it gets removed from here and gets stored at a location which is common for all the objects. Okay, right? So static things will never be the part of objects. If I go to my writer.java now, you will see a yellow line over here, p1.caps1, p2.caps1. It's a warning. It's a warning telling you that caps is not the part of the object, so please don't try to initiate it with the object. All the static things in the class, they don't need object to be created to refer them. They can be accessed directly with the class name. I can write over here, I can simply write pen dot caps equals to 1. To access static properties and functions of the class, you can directly access with the class name. To access non-static things like company, price and all those things, it is mandatory to create the object. I hope you are understanding the point. Suppose I have a function tomorrow, say public static void refill. So this is a function which will not be the part of any object. You can directly call it with the name of the class, pen.refill. Ajit, just check your net. Is my voice breaking for everyone? Or is it okay? My screen and voice. Ajit, just check your net because I think it's okay for everyone. I have a very good net speed over here. Okay. So now out here, so pen.refill is a static function. So static things can be called directly with the name of the class. And for the non-static things, you will have to create the object. Alright, fine. Now, that is the most important thing in Java, static and non-static. And this is where people they get confused. So to access the non-static properties, you create the object. To access the static, you directly access them. And in Selenium also, we have got inbuilt classes. We create the objects of those classes and we work with them. Okay. For example, if I go to the official website of Selenium, which is seleniumhq.org, and if I go to the download section, you will see that there is a Java doc link. Just this Java doc is actually the documentation of Selenium. Okay, when you open it, this documentation opens up. And these are all the classes in Selenium over here. You don't need to remember all of them. I also don't remember. I refer the documentation, but few classes you need to remember. If you scroll down, there will be something written as WebDriver over here. Okay, it's alphabetically arranged. If you scroll down to WebDriver, you will see that this is the main interface used for testing, which represents the idealized web browser. Okay, everything in Selenium architecture starts with this interface WebDriver. I'll tell you about interfaces. I'll tell you what interfaces are when we are on day 3. Okay, right. Now, there are various driver classes in Selenium. For example, Firefox driver, which I just talked about. Okay, in Eclipse, hold on, in Eclipse, if I create a new class and call it as drivers underscore Selenium, and over here, if I create the object of Firefox driver, this is the class which is present in one of the jar files of Selenium which we had imported. Okay, so I'm creating the object of that class which is inbuilt inside the jar file. You have to import it. Okay, and when you run it, as I told you earlier, a blank Firefox will open up. Alright, fine, you see that. But to control this Firefox, you need to have a reference. You need to write Firefox driver, say F1 equals to new Firefox driver. So this F1 will be pointing towards the Firefox browser, and with this F1 you can control the driver, like F1 dot. If you write, you will get access to all the non-static things and all. Okay, for example, if you write F1 dot, a function known as get, you can give the URL. Look, mentioning the protocol is important. If you don't mention the protocol, it will give you an exception. It is not like QTP VB scripting. In QTP, it is not required in UFT. Okay, so when you run this program, Firefox driver equals to new Firefox driver, you will see that a new Firefox window will open up. It will be a blank window and it will take you to Yahoo website. Okay, right. Now, similarly, you have got other drivers as well. You have driver for every browser. You have got Opera driver, Chrome driver is there. Okay, if you create the object of Chrome driver, look, if you just write CHR and if you hit Control space bar of the keyboard, it will give you the names of all the classes starting with this word letters. You can select Chrome driver from there. Okay, right. And if you run this code, Chrome should open, but it will give you an exception, illegal state exception. Look, for Chrome browser and Internet Explorer, you need to have special exes. Only then Selenium will work. Okay, to work with Chrome and IE, you have to download two things. For IE driver, you need to download this exe file, 32-bit or 64-bit depending on your IE. You need to download it from here. After you download it for IE, you will get this IE driver server.exe file. Okay. right? And for Chrome, you need to scroll down and download it from here. There is an exe which you need to download for Chrome. From this link, go to this link and go to latest release Chrome driver 2.27. Okay, and you download it from here. For Mac, this is the link. For Windows 32-bit or 64-bit, you can download this. And when you download it, you will get a file like this, chrome driver.exe. You don't need to double click or execute it, just keep it with you and note down the path where you have kept it on your PC. Okay, for Chrome driver, you have to write a line like this, system dot, you can use the latest version of Chrome, system.set property WebDriver.chrome sorry dot driver. Look, this has to be in lowercase and there shouldn't be any uppercase character, and the spelling should be absolutely correct the way I am writing. And over here give the path of the exe file. Alright, in Java you have to write double slash for escape sequence. And now when you run this code, a blank Chrome browser will open up. Okay, so these exes are required for Chrome and IE. And if I write over here Chrome driver, right, so is this, yes, this is defined. You have to download it from Chrome, the Selenium website. You have to download this exe from there, the way I told you. I am recording this session, you'll get the recorded video. Okay, so you go to yahoo.com and now if you launch Chrome, it will take you to yahoo.com. Okay, right. Now, similarly for IE as well. For IE, you have got, hold on. It is a default output, Ajit. There is no error. It's a default output. When you run it in Eclipse, you will always have that it is starting the Chrome driver on some port and all. It is not an error message. Okay. Now out here, you have got IE driver as well, Internet Explorer driver. If I create the object of internet, you just write internet and hit control space bar of keyboard. Internet Explorer driver will come up. Rahul, if you want to switch over to Selenium, then yes, this course will be helpful. The question was being asked that somebody is working on ETL, so can he learn Selenium? You can learn it. If you want to switch over to automation testing, you can learn it. Okay. So I driver I equals to new Internet Explorer driver, right? And you can write over here I.get, go to the website http say yahoo.com. So when you run it, you will again get an exception. Okay, to correct this exception, you will have to write WebDriver.i system.set property WebDriver.iDriver to the path of iDriver exe in your PC. Okay, I told you that you need to download it, right? So you can give the path to exe. So when you run it, it launches IE. Okay, right. In Selenium 3, that is not an exception, Sujata. That is just an error. Sorry, not an error. It's just a message that it is starting IE and it is listening on this port and all. It is just a message. It's not an exception. Okay. Now in Selenium 3, what they have done is for Firefox also they have introduced an exe Gecko driver which you can download from this link, Mozilla Gecko driver. In Selenium 3 they have launched it. In Selenium 2, you don't need any exe for Firefox, right? Whether it will work in, prefer using IE11, okay, right, prefer using IE11. Sujata, then which message are you telling? Okay, this exception, why it is not coming in Firefox, why don't we need an exe in Firefox? It's built like that. Okay, in Selenium 3.x you need a exe for Firefox as well. Okay. Now there are other drivers as well. There are other driver classes which are Opera driver, Chrome driver. I'll just tell you, hold on. There are other drivers. Ravi, it is built like that in Selenium 2. There are some internal features which are built like that. Okay. So these are the different drivers, but majorly we use IE, Chrome and Firefox. Okay. And a driver like say remote WebDriver, this will be using in Selenium GRID. Alright. Opera driver and all, Safari driver, these are unstable. These give issues. Edge driver, they will give you issues. I've seen that. So majorly we use 3 major browsers in automation and those work perfectly fine. And right now system.set property, what it is? Look, system is a class, inbuilt class, and set property is a static function inside it. Okay, right. See, public static string set property. It's a static function inside system class. That's why you are able to call it directly. And this actually goes and does some system settings on your PC where it stores this path. Okay, right. Now there's another question being asked, that the question is, if we download Chrome driver, can we work on Selenium 3.0? Yes, you can work on it. Or do we still, for Firefox, you have to use Firefox 40 with Selenium 2.53. For Chrome and IE, you can use the latest browser's version. For IE, you can use IE11. For Chrome, you can use the latest Chrome. Alright, with 2.53. Okay, fine. So this was about brief introduction to Selenium. I told you about basic Java programs, right? And then I talked about, writer and pen example where I talked about static, non-static. I told you how to create objects, right? I told you that you can create an object and there can be non-static things, there can be static things in the class. Non-static things are the part of the class, part of the object, and static things, they can be accessed directly with the class name. And then we discussed briefly about Selenium, the brief browsers we have, Firefox driver, we have Chrome driver and IE driver, how to initiate, right? So anybody with any questions till now?